dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Goonies never say die.
God knows I want you, but you don't get to destroy who I am.
The Night Rider.
I'm a compulsive liar.
That's rough, buddy.
And use the power of the Matrix to light our darkest horror.
Hey everyone, welcome to another spooky episode of the FanCast. Today, as always, we have Mike, Chucky, Brian, and McKenna, and also joining us today is Tim from Raptor Rights.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another Red Raptor Rights.
Hey!
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, what are we talking about today, Mike?
Today we are talking about John Carpenter's cult classic, The Thing.
Windows. Bill. You tie up Palmer over here. We're gonna draw a little bit of everybody's blood. We're gonna find out who's the thing. Watching Norris in there gave me the idea that maybe every part of him was a whole. Every little piece was an individual animal with a built-in desire to protect its own life. You see, when a man bleeds, it's just tissue. The blood from one of you things won't obey when it's attacked. It'll try and survive. Crawl away from a hot needle, say.
This is not a kids episode per se. This is a little bit of a scary, spooky, scary episode.
Yeah.
I didn't find it that scary.
Really? Because you were like, Kelly was in the room and you were like covering her eyes the whole time.
I covered her eyes because there was blood. I didn't cover her eyes because it was scary.
She was concerned for the dogs.
Me too.
Yeah, because dogs are like the only good characters in anything ever.
All right, so I guess we can start off with our usual. Where were you when you first saw the movie?
Where were you, child?
Where were you, Sky?
High on LSD.
So yes, well, I guess we'll start off with Sky because I showed him first. So where were you, Sky?
I was familiar with it. I've seen reviews of it. I was like, oh, it's pretty interesting, and I knew about the practical effects. I knew it was like one of the best physically practical effects movies, so I knew the arm biting scene and everything beforehand. But actually watching it, it was just me and Mike. We were watching it on a laptop, and it was just so good. And we were watching it on like a winter night. Like it was actually cold outside. It was actually scary. And we were in like a basement. So yeah, and we had a pretty similar experience for the rest of us because we watched it on a projector on a cold winter's night, which I think that's the best time to watch this movie is like on a cold winter's night and everything.
On New Year's Eve.
Yeah, I was gonna say our introduction to it, like most movies, came from Sky and Mike in our house, just like downstairs watching movies either on a projector or on the TV whose volume is way too low.
Yeah. What are your overall thoughts on the piece?
Paranoia.
I thought it was good.
Paranoia?
I liked the panic spreading. Who's who? Who do you trust? I liked it. I thought it was a good concept. I thought some things could have been maybe done a little bit better. Like the whole movie had a lot of potential, and overall, I liked it a lot.
I think it's a cult classic for a reason. Like I was saying before, one word that like is in every review on the internet just talks about the incredible sense of paranoia that the film establishes. And I think that, with the incredible effects, with the source material that they so gracefully distilled and were able to make something that stood the test of time to the point where it was reevaluated and reacclaimed. I give it, not that it's like one of my favorite movies or like one of the best movies I've ever seen, but like I do rate it very highly. Like
7 or 8, definitely.
I would say like a 9.5, if not a 10 out of 10. Like just for this like the genre and style and what they're going for. Like it executes what it tries to achieve very, very well, and I would say practically flawlessly. So very good. Like I said, cult classic for a reason.
What do
How about-
Tim and Brian have to say?
Ooh, I think, like, I know that this was a book and then a 50s movie.
Yeah,
but we saw the 50s
original
movie.
book.
That wasn't intense at all. It was just really kind of boring. But I think
What?
Let him
Said
finish.
the
Let him
50s
finish.
one.
Let him
Okay.
finish. Let him
50s
finish.
one.
Well,
Just let him go. Just let him go.
No, let him finish. Tim,
What?
continue.
no, but then I think that John Carpenter really like elevated the material so much to be like, again, just
Yeah, guys,
Among
we're
Us,
talking
but
about
in
the
movie form. And I love how rewatchable it is. Like, I've seen it 3 times at this point, and like every time I see it, it's like I'm trying to connect more dots. It's like, see, okay, what did this guy get infected, and what happened to him? And then like, oh man, and then you're just trying to like figure out the ending too. Like, is Childs, you know, infected? And I don't know. There's just so much rewatchability to it.
I know
But
what.
even John Carpenter himself was
Let
a
me-
fan of the original. He
I haven't
included
gotten to say
he
anything
had it
yet.
on the
Yeah.
TV in Halloween.
Brian,
Let me
Brian didn't get
go.
to say anything.
Okay, so first of all, the original is intense. It's just not. It's nowhere near as intense in the same way because the monster is not infectious. So of course, yeah, it can't be as intense in the same way. But as a fan of many 40s and 50s sci-fi horror films, like the OG stuff, that one is really up there with the classics.
I
So
don't think I've seen
it's
it.
not. It's definitely not a fair comparison. Also, just yeah, obviously the newer one is better. It is a far more developed concept than the 50s one. And as to Chucky's point, yeah, John Carpenter did say that he was a big fan of the 50s one, but I think that that's really undervaluing everything that the original one was.
Yeah, because it's
Well,
not
this
as
one is
much.
better,
It's
hands
not.
down.
It's not as much of a reboot or of the original as much as it just kind of uses the same title and the same premise, but they're two
It
very
was,
different monsters. And I highly suggest
Yes,
James
exactly.
James Ralph's video on In Defense of the Thing. He's talking about the original 50s one, and he talks about how it deserves a place in society because like we always like elevate the 80s one, but the 50s one is just as good.
Not
in my view. It's different, but it's good.
The 50s one also established the trend carried across all 3 films of having a burning, an entirely burning monster running through a wall and crashing through a wall into the snow. Like all 3 films,
I did see the
50s, the 80s, and the 2011 prequel all follow that tradition set by the original.
Wait,
No,
wait,
I
hold
will.
on. So the
Oh,
50s one was
No,
the
but
one
to
where
Sky's
it was
point-
like a carrot alien
Yeah.
monster.
Yes,
Yeah,
they
no,
describe
he's
it
a
as a super
plant-based
carrot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
so,
he's
wait.
a plant-based alien. The
but
thing
I
is
will
also,
say this.
wait a
Oh,
second.
Brian is done.
Wait a second, you unholy slanderer
Oh
of
my
great
God.
cinema.
We're having a good night here, folks. We're having a good night.
Yeah, no, this blood will be spilled before the night is over. Anyway, as I was saying, yeah, so they're complete. One is more sci-fi, one is more horror. I would say the 50s is more sci-fi, and then the 80s is more horror. So yeah, horror is made to be intense, and I have some very interesting. I know we definitely have to delve into the theories about everything tonight because I have one of my own that I haven't seen talked about, and the greater implications of it. So I cannot wait till we get into that.
Yeah.
Same here.
I'm still trying to just think of something else that I really loved
Wait,
about
can
the
I have the
80s
floor
one.
while
Now
you
I'm
think
just so
for a
mad
minute?
about the
No.
confidence
I
of
want
the
to say
50s
something.
one.
I want to
Okay,
say
go
something.
ahead.
If
Go
Brian,
ahead.
if
I
you
wanna
want
say
a
that-
suspenseful 50s movie,
No,
Then
I want
Wait,
to say
wait,
that.
Kenna.
like,
Let Tim beg. Let Tim
No,
beg.
I'm not. I don't need to apologize and beg for anything. I'm saying that I appreciate like how you need those stepping stones. Like you never get it. Not perfect, but like it's not as evolved like the first time. Like film evolves, like builds off of itself, and things take inspiration from other things, and then take them in new directions. And like to Dark Knight, Batman, stuff like that. So it's like
Except for Spider-Man, that evolves backwards.
Jurassic Park, Jaws, stuff like that.
Jurassic Park evolved backwards.
So of course, I always appreciate the old and like seeing how things originated and like where ideas came from. And
Tim.
of course, you have to give a lot of respect to the old.
I just don't think it's Tim's
but
cup of tea.
Tim, as a 50s sci-fi film, such as like the other good ones, like The Day the Earth Stood Still or Them, like
Creature from the Black Lagoon,
or Creature from the Black Lagoon,
the entire monster cinematic universe.
This was a lot better. This
Wolfman.
is really up there when you compare it to things like the giant praying mantis movie or the 50-foot woman or Attack of the Flipping Crab Monsters.
Okay, everything is a lot better when you compare them to those.
The 50-foot woman is still considered a classic in its own regard. It's like the famous crabby one.
Yeah.
Okay, why is no one
Like
talking
Attack
about
of the
how great
Crab
the Blob
Monsters
was?
is hilarious though. Like the first half is legitimately good 50s sci-fi movie, and then it just nosedives so
Well,
hard.
I hear
like,
that the Blob is
it
similar.
nosedives harder than Musashi 3.
The Blob is pretty good.
I hear the Blob is similar where,
the
with
Blob is
like
great.
80s and 50s as it is with the Thing with the 50s and 80s. The Thing.
The
They're
hilarious
very
thing,
similar. Where
I've
it's
never
like
seen the 80s. I've never seen the 80s Blob, but the hilarious part of the 50s one is just seeing like Steve McQueen, who's like in his 40, trying to be a teenager. It's literally on the "Hello, fellow kids" or whatever that meme is. It's literally like that.
What was Mike? Mike was trying to get a point in, I think.
All I have to say about the 50s, I'm not entirely on Tim's side. Like, I appreciate it. I enjoyed what I saw. And, yeah, it's definitely something worth watching. John Carpenter's whole idea with his film, so he, like we just said, he was a huge fan of the original film, and he wanted to remake it while also being more faithful to the book, Who Goes There, which the extended version I think is called Frozen Hell, right?
Yep, that's it.
And yeah, those are the main two differences between the 50s and 80s.
I haven't seen the 2011 one though.
Well, that's not the only main difference. One of the other main differences, as was aptly pointed out by one of the many YouTube videos I've seen on it. I'm sorry, my academic referencing is through the floor. But the 50s one, coming out of World War II, you've got the military leader as who's the brave head of the bunch, the classic cliche crazy scientist, and all the Americans, all the American people coming together to collectively defeat the monster. Whereas the 80s one, after people aren't trusting in each other because you've got everyone suspecting everybody else of being a communist,
Watergate,
or through McCarthyism, Watergate, and the ineptitude of the military in Vietnam, or at least the perceived ineptitude of the military in Vietnam. And the Cold War, you've got a whole different perspective where the military guy is actually like this wimpy kind of coward and nobody trusts anybody else. It's a very, very different atmosphere and cultural setting than the original film.
Both of them are commenting on American culture of their times, like the 50s being very patriotic, very pro army and everything, and then the 80s coming along being like the system is broken, not everyone knows what they're doing, and anyone could die at any moment, a la Cold War. And
we have to talk about then favorite scenes, because just going into this.
Oh yeah.
There is one more point I want to touch on.
But just going into this is what you guys just touched on talks about my favorite scene in the movie.
So we'll talk about that in a second.
Let Tim say what he has to say.
So I want to see if you guys agree, because I only saw the 50s one that one time when we watched it together. So maybe my memory is not as exact, and since I've seen the 80s one more, I appreciate about the 80s one is that this isn't going to be a woke thing that I'm trying to say here, but that the characters look and act a lot different. You have black characters, short, fat characters.
They look like real people. They're not pretty boys.
Yeah, in the 50s one, I felt like
they're not the good old boys.
And in a lot of 50s movies, everyone kind of looks the same, so it's a little hard to tell who's too, or like more to
I agree.
differentiate the characters.
I,
And, like, you
I
have
can see that. I can
and you
see
have
that.
the one woman who makes coffee.
Right, so you're saying it has more diversity than the original.
And I'm not just saying
Well,
diversity.
also
for the
makes the
sake of
characters more
diversity.
distinct. Is what he's saying.
Yeah,
Which is hilarious
and
about the
developed
50s
as
one.
well, I think.
Because when I had started to watch the 50s one, and I had seen on the casting list James Arnaz, and whoever doesn't know, James Arnaz played Matt Dillon in Gunsmoke, was probably his most famous role ever.
Was also in them.
He is also in them. Anyway, I was like, oh man, I can't wait to see this as James Arnaz movie. I can't wait to watch him fight the alien. And then I'm like 30 minutes into the movie, I'm like, wait, where the Shrek is James Arnaz? And then I'm like, holy wait, is James Arnaz the alien? And James Arnaz is the alien. You like never see his face the whole movie.
But
when he's like, when
was
you
so
see
tall.
the 6'3" like giant monster with humongous broad shoulders, you're like, there he is.
I think that whole
like,
idea of identity and like who is who, it kind of reminds me of like what they did with DuckTales, because Huey, Dewey, and Louie, like as characters, you cannot tell them apart. But when they rebooted it, they have
that's
distinct, you know.
That's another thing you have to give the 50s the point for. I have no knowledge on the book whatsoever, but it did, like, the killing of the dogs is also probably one of the best scenes in the 50s one.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it's one of the best scenes in the 80s one. So again, all that drawn inspiration.
Yeah.
Well, also in the 50s one, doing that aforementioned stunt of a full body, like a full person on fire, that was the first time it had ever been done in cinema, if I remember correctly. Like, that was a new and very dangerous stunt when they first tried it.
James Arnaz, man.
But also, I appreciate how like they have different personalities. They don't just look different. Like Palmer smokes weed and like has all these random conspiracies. Knowles, the chef, like skate. What do you call it? Roller skates around. Childs is like very aggressive in his personality, and like Windows is like the hipster.
He's the biggest skeptic.
Yeah. So it's like it really differentiates them and like helps you like, okay, this is this guy.
Yeah, and this guy just died,
might be infected.
Well, in the
this
book,
guy is sus.
like there are a lot more characters in the 50s movie, but in the book there was like a whole unit at the South Pole. So actually, like, it was brilliant on John Carpenter's part to bring down the amount of characters and distill it to those few memorable individuals.
Well, because that makes the intrapersonal politics of all the finger pointing so much closer and to understand and more intimate between character to character.
That's what makes the game Among Us.
You get to go deeper instead of wider.
That's why
exactly. See, that's part of the thing that makes shows like Transformers Prime so good. I want to do a video on like the art of cast shrinking, because there's a lot to be said about when you make a cast smaller and you get to focus on individual characters.
That's why like the game Among Us is so much fun, because with people you know, because you can tell different distinct things about them, and kind of similar calling back to when we were doing the Breakfast Club podcast.
It's the best when you're all in the same room and you're not even allowed to have a reaction. Like, you have to stay.
Exactly. It's almost like a character. It's a character analysis, you know, especially with like going back to when we talked about Breakfast Club, like 5 really distinct like character archetypes in a room, and you get to learn so much about them from that short time being together. Even when it's like a alien murderous spree, it's still technically a character analysis, and you actually care about people who die like individually in the thing.
Yeah, it's not just faceless body count going up.
All right, can we skip to the end for a second and talk about how, you know, whoever it was that confirmed
but that's
someone
theories.
At the end, one of the
that was
team
John
was
Carpenter.
Wait. We should talk about favorite scenes before we go to theories. Theories should be the end, because that's going to be the longest part.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. So,
I've only got one
good
good
who wants
theory.
to go first? Okay, but favorite scenes, who wants to go first?
I think Mike should go first on that.
All right, so that's rough. Well, obviously, I think, I don't know, if I had to pick my top 3, because I don't think I really have one individual scene that's my favorite. For the third place, I would probably go with the dog scene, because obviously that's like the big reveal. And
I was so confused in the beginning while they were shooting at this dog. I was like, how are you gonna shoot at a dog?
so
how is very easy. Why is hard to tell.
It's it's the big reveal, and it's like the first time you really get to see all the special effects, going into full effect. And yeah, and then after that would then be the arm biting scene, which
I knew you were gonna say that.
yeah, when I was showing Sky the film at his house, his little sister, who's really young,
Oh
she
no.
kept she kept trying to come in because she wanted to play with Sky or something, and he was like, nope, no. And he literally yelled at her because we were right at that scene. He was like, no, get out of here.
I love my
You're gonna
sister.
have nightmares for weeks.
It was scary.
Yeah, no, she never would have recovered from that. His other little sister would have been like, "Woo!"
It was scarier having her almost come in and see that than actually watching the scene at that point.
Oh my gosh, that's memorable.
But yeah,
That's memorable.
that scene is probably the most iconic scene that everybody knows from the film, and yeah, it's really good. And then you have the spider head and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then number one, obviously, is the blood test scene where a whole bunch of crap
I was just
down.
about to say that.
Yeah.
It's the most suspenseful scene in the whole film, and
I'll add on to that.
I
that
think
seems really
that's
great.
where that's where the film shines the most.
I'll definitely add
Yeah, I
on to
don't
that
think-
because that's the same. I don't really have much to say because that's the same with me where it's like originally it was the arm biting scene, but for me, 100% that blood test scene. Because without revealing the monster till the very end of that scene, like it's scary, and to have that kind of fear like instilled in you without even seeing the monster, like it just goes to show that like intensity sometimes is the best medicine instead of jump scares, you know.
Well, one of the
Alright,
great
I
things
wanna-
is they're setting up the punchline to be child because McCready is just completely set that it is child, and that's why he's like, that's why we'll test you last. But then it turns out it's Palmer in that scene.
Mm-hmm.
So like the fact that they build up the dread and then it's not a cheap jump
Actually,
scare.
it was,
like it's a clever diversion of attention.
It was actually Gary that he tested last, I think.
Yeah.
It was
Gary.
that he tested last.
Okay, it was Gary, yeah, because he was the one that was greatly protesting being tied to the couch and was being suspected for having slashed the blood. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, but I agree. I
That's
think
a very hilarious scene, though.
he had a lot of tension with child. He had a lot of tension with childs already, but Gary had the keys for the blood. Now McKenna, you can go.
All right, nobody freak out because since I've only seen the movie once, I don't remember like anybody's name. But so I was gonna say my two favorite parts are definitely the blood test scene, and the other one is who's the old science dude?
Blair.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know.
Blair.
I don't know their names.
Yeah, it's
but
Blair.
like
It's Blair.
It's
when
Blair.
they know that
The one.
it's him,
Are you talking about the one that
and they
gets
lock
locked
him
up in
up.
the shack?
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's talking about Blair. She's talking about him.
Yeah.
Right. So when they lock him up in the shack and he goes like from begging to go out of there, and you see him like actually tie a noose because I guess he figures out he's infected, to then just like completely flipping a switch and embodying, like the alien.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was pretty cool.
That's a pretty good reveal.
Yeah. One underrated scene, or at least not underrated, but one that doesn't get talked about. It's kind of like right before the blood test, where Clark, the guy who loves the dogs, like actually goes after McCready with the knife and just pops him in the head. But then, like,
that was what I was gonna say is
yeah,
my favorite scene.
And then he flips the gun on. He has the gun on Childs, and he's just like he won't hesitate to shoot Childs, and he just like cocks the gun.
Yeah,
oh
no,
my
that's
gosh.
why that's my absolute favorite scene, because that scene shows real practicality and literally that you're in the middle of nowhere. Like, you can always just say like, oh, they're in the middle of Antarctica. That's the scene that shows you're in the middle of Antarctica and that something dangerous is happening, because he literally just says, hey, you step any closer, monster or not, I'm killing you.
Mm-hmm.
And he steps closer and he just kills him. He literally just kills him. And it's such a good scene to show the intensity and the practicality, and the fact that he's not infected at that point also makes it better of a scene.
Yeah, it's such.
Like, that's what makes that scene so good. This reminds me of when Tim was showing me The Last of Us, and so we in the very opening of the game, there's a guy who's pinned under a thing, like a bookcase or something.
Yeah.
And there's spores flooding in, and so he goes, "Help! My gas mask is cracked!" And without a second word, I just shot him in the head. And then so Tim was like, "Whoa, hey, what the heck?" And I was like, "What? Could you save him or something?" And he goes, "Well, he was gonna ask you to kill him anyway, but I was just amazed you didn't hesitate at all."
And this is why Brian would survive the zombie apocalypse and we wouldn't.
I thought Brian was gonna say that.
This is why Brian's the only person I would take with me in the zombie.
I thought Brian was.
You mean you'd be lucky if Brian took you?
I thought Brian was
He's
honestly.
dead. So what are you gonna do? Like, you can't save him. Just kill him now.
I thought Brian was gonna say that. This reminds me of the time that Tim shot me.
No, but see, the point of that scene was to give you a tutorial on how to shoot, and before the game even has a chance to tell you the buttons to shoot, or like for the guy to beg for you to take him out, Brian just sees this guy with his mask cracked and instantly, without hesitation, murders him on the spot.
Mercy kill.
There's no rules.
Chucky,
It's the apocalypse. Wait a second. Also, I wanted to say about this was so not only does it show that real practicality, I related to that scene also because not only in that video game, I recently played through the Telltale Batman series and I ranked like 85% practical. I ranked like down the middle on like other things, but on practicality I ranked like 85%.
Chucky, what is your favorite scene?
I don't know. It would be hard to say. Like, I wish I could say, but I feel like it's such a cop out to say, the ending. The ending is just so good. That's such my favorite. It's like perfectly ambiguous, yet gives you enough hints that it's like you feel like you could play detective and come up with your own headcanon for what comes after, not counting the video games and comics and all the other stuff that does some stuff right and some other stuff terribly wrong.
Next. We'll go into adaptation then theories.
If I was going to say a scene different from the ending, I would say McCready's introduction is probably one of the goes up there in top character introductions. He's just playing chess with a computer and the computer wins and he just shows the computer what he thinks of it and reminds it of its place in the world by just pouring his drink into the computer, shorting it out and being like, take that, I win.
Again, the practicality.
Yeah.
You think you won?
The way he just destroyed hundreds of dollars of equipment in one act of frustration. Because he lost. So practical.
What were you gonna say, Mike?
It's since you mentioned the ending, Chucky, did you guys know there are actually 2 alternate endings to the film?
We're gonna get We're gonna get right into that.
So
wait, Mike, just 1 second. We're gonna take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back. Hey everyone, just letting you know that our podcast is officially out on Spotify, Google Podcast, and Anchor. So if you want to listen to our podcast on the go, we have the links right in the description below. Also in the description below, we have our shop. Morning and Night NWO design, still available, but get it while supplies last. Thank you again for Anchor for sponsoring our video. Now, back to the podcast. And we're back. Mike, you were saying about 2 deleted scenes?
2 alternate endings
for
the film. So, the first alternate ending for the film was McCready actually survives and makes it back home and does the blood test on himself. And it concludes with him being clean. He's not the Thing, and everybody's happy. And the second alternate ending is Childs and McCready are still just standing there, and they just freeze to death. And then it cuts to the next day, and you just see a dog running in the snow, and that is supposed to be the Thing. Therefore, the Thing won.
Boo.
So John Carpenter was very smart in choosing the ending that he went with, making the whole thing ambiguous, because without that we wouldn't be talking about this movie as much as we are right now.
Well, that wouldn't matter as much, according to some of the external comics. That
Well, yeah.
I could briefly sum up the comics for you. The
Go right
first
ahead.
one, the first one is like of no consequence because nothing like it basically ends where it started. So what happens is Childs is clean. He tries to save McCready. There's this ship and this other camp, and basically the thing just rips through everybody, and it ends with this big, like the thing trying to escape in a submarine, and Childs and McCready blow it up, and they stop it. But then McCready's left on an iceberg, potentially going to freeze to death. So like I said, it really doesn't go anywhere. The second one is actually a really good comic. Most people take it as an acceptable sequel, where McCready gets taken to like some South American jungle out of the Arctic, and Childs is there as well. And instead of starting with dogs, it starts with sheep this time. And the thing slowly takes over the camp and the military group down there. And they do the blood test again. But Childs is actually the thing in this comic. So instead, he holds his thumb in the blood test to make his blood test look clean. So the cells didn't jump when they were exposed to heat, but then he makes McCready's jump. So then they think it's McCready for a little bit. There's a captain of the army there that thinks that, you know, like everything that's crazy is stupid. So he's going to go get his guys and retake command. But then it turns out his army guys are all infected at that point. So literally they try to assimilate him, and he just cuts his own arm off to avoid being assimilated. And then it all culminates in this huge, giant alien thing that they drop napalm bombs on, and it's this huge epic. And it's this huge epic finale, and McCready finally gets out of there. The third comic is stupid. It's
more of a 50s style
But
movie.
then McCready's still the
no,
thing, though. No,
McCready's not the thing. He was framed, and he does his own blood test in the woods,
which I may say is a neat idea to frame
to
someone as a thing.
And then what, Brian?
Thing learns like to frame. That's really sick.
Yeah, the third one is stupid because the thing then basically decides, okay, I'm just going to be one entity and I'm going to be special. But then it turns out that there's this girlfriend. So he's like, I'm going to make her a thing so then we could be both special together. But then she goes on a feeding frenzy, and this happens on an island, and she tries to assimilate the whole island. And then like McCready shows up out of nowhere, and this other captain is there, and they torch the whole island. And it's very stupid. Don't look at the third comic.
Like the Bride of Frankenstein type thing.
Brian, can't hear you.
So it's like a whole Bride of Frankenstein story.
I guess the video game is kind of cool because it's about a group that goes to the original outpost from the film before after events, and
then
the
rescue team,
and then kind of repeat movie plot. But then at the end, when there's like once again another big finale, McCready comes in at the last minute to save the last guy after they blow everything up.
It's like the ending of the game. Doesn't the thing become like a giant like kaiju type thing?
Oh, yeah.
I think it does. Similar to like I was saying in the second comic.
What do you say, McKenna?
I said it's like Bushroot from Darkwing Duck.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I still want to get, like, at some point watch the 2011 one. I know it basically was ruined because they basically CGI'd over all the practical effects, which is terrible, you know, for, like, such a, like, effects-heavy, like, prequel in this way. Like, why? Especially, like, 2011.
Not even good CGI.
Yeah, 2011 CGI. Like, just why? But just for the like sheer curiosity, I want to give it a watch at some point. Some people say it's fine, but it's
Lucas.
Yeah.
It rehashes a lot of the original.
Also, there's some complaints that the cast is like very bland and not as memorable, and it's just, you know, more generic plot points. Like the original was a lot more unique in its plot, whereas makes it a lot more of a generic plot.
Yeah, exactly. It just feels mixed, you know. Like like I said, I haven't watched the full movie, so I still want to have my own opinion instead of just what people have been saying about it. And I like the idea that's not a sequel to it, and that it's a prequel, and that leads straight up into the first movie. Kind of feels like Rogue One in that way. Like, that's fine. They definitely don't want a remake of it. Definitely don't. Like, that's the last thing we need. If there is going to be a remake, it has to be a remake like The Thing from Another World, where it's had nothing to do with this, basically.
Yeah, where it's nothing like it.
Exactly. I don't know why they do remakes like that, though. Like, there's a lot of films that are just good on their own if you didn't count them as a remake. You know?
Well, I believe in remakes when there's room for improvement or a chance to do something different and unique, but really, there's not much that you could do to John Carpenter's version of The Thing.
I really want, you know what movie I really want a remake of from the 50s that never got a remake? It's called it's not It Came from Outer Space.
The Thing,
it's
what's it called? The Day That Earth Stood Still?
No. It's a much less popular one than those big name ones.
The Day the Earth Stood Still did get a remake, but it wasn't.
No. It's a much less popular one. It's called like The Thing from Beyond Outer Space, or like It Came from Beyond Outer Space. I know it has the word beyond in the title.
It came from outer space, I think.
No, that's not it. No, that's not it.
It Came from Outer Space is a different movie.
No. The way this movie starts is these guys go to pick up this last surviving dude from Mars who killed all his other space buddies who were on a Mars expedition. But so as they pick him up and they take it and they're flying home for Earth. Yeah, and they're flying home to Earth. He tells them, "Hey, look, I didn't kill those guys. Something else killed them." And the alien gets on the ship and crawls through the vents, Among Us style, and is killing all the shipmates.
It's kind of like Alien. That sounds like Alien.
Don't they blast it out the airlock like Alien though?
I think they do blast it out the airlock.
That's pretty much Alien.
It's pretty much Alien, but I want like a specific remake of that movie.
All right, I see.
Because that movie's really underrated and really underrecognized. Okay, I say we get into theories now because this is going to take the longest.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy.
I only got one big good theory.
Wait, I want to go first because I've never heard anyone talk about this. This is completely my own theory. Okay, this is more like this is not like intricate like, hey, what if this guy or that guy was or wasn't infected? This is a question. To my knowledge, it's been a while since I've seen it, but to my knowledge, they never say that for something to be infected, it has to be mammalian, right? It just says it can infect any living thing.
Well, in the second comic, they established like things like trees. It doesn't assimilate because they say if it could, the whole forest would have eaten us by now.
Then discount the comic because that's my question. Because it's in Antarctica, so of course the only thing living there are mammalian. But what if? Okay, yes, true. I meant on the bases. It's just the humans and the dogs. Okay. But yes. What I mean is that we don't know how much of the entire universe has been visited by other things. So get this, you could go to another planet where every living thing, including the plants, is the Thing.
Mm-hmm.
And how much of the entire universe has been assimilated by things? Well, because it tries to build a spaceship when it's in the isolation chamber. So literally, how many planets? How much of the entire universe has been assimilated?
So it's like Thanos or Galactus.
Space exploration as a whole, because you don't know what planet you land on is entirely assimilated, not just the life. So discounting the comics, the plants could be assimilated too. But then every organism on other planet that's not plant life or plant life, depending on whether or not you count the comics, could literally be the Thing already.
Well, this is my question. For all you know,
Earth is the last surviving planet.
If it's all about assimilation and everything like that, does that mean that there's even a host, or is it more like a virus? Like, is the thing, like, did it come to Earth as the thing itself, or did it come to Earth as another alien? It could be act more like a virus in that way.
Well, that's what people have wondered for a while. They're like, is the ship that it landed on, was that a ship that the thing took over the original occupants, or was that the thing's ship? Like, and then also, like the ship that it was building, is that a ship that it knows to build as the thing, or is that a ship that it knows how to build because of some other life form that it assimilated, potentially the one that, the ones on the ship that crashed?
Or it could have medicine from some planet.
Very possible. There's some.
I don't know. Isn't there like some sort of idea that the thing was jettisoned from another planet? It was like some biological weapon that was created, and they were like, "Get it off the planet now!" And it like wound up landing on Earth.
It was the Iron Giant. Except one came out very well, and the other very not well.
Like that movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito.
Twins.
Yes.
All right, let's talk about the ending. I just want to say one thing. It doesn't have to do with theories. It doesn't have to do with anything.
No, we're talking about theories, so too bad.
About what?
We're talking about theories at the moment.
It's fine. She gets to say it.
With the ending, you know how it's two of them, and you don't know who is who did it, who is the thing now. I feel like you automatically wanna assume it's kind of Childs because McCready is more of a main character and you kind of view him as the leader, so you kind of don't want him to be the thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then there's so many theories as to why he could be.
Yeah, and the one that
most of which don't hold as much water as the child theories, in my opinion.
The one that was debunked pretty early.
He's the main character. You want to see him succeed. You don't want him to be the bad guy.
Yeah,
kind of saying, don't let your personal bias of the protagonist get in the way of your theory.
That's very true. And the one thing that debunked it in the very beginning is that they try to say this thing that basically, I think basically it was the same thing in Blade Runner. They were trying to say is that the people who are the thing don't have a glare in their eye, which is completely false because it doesn't make any sense in the full scheme of things.
It's true in the blood test scene and the blood test scene only.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, and that's cool and all, but I don't think it's very practical from a filmmaking point of view, especially when you have a bunch of characters.
Another dumb thing that people bring up is that Childs doesn't you don't see him actually you don't see breath coming out of his mouth while he's breathing, but you clearly can. If you can,
it's just not as noticeable.
And you can also see other
like a Blu-ray release or something. Yeah. It's
other people who are the thing.
The thing has personal humidity control. What?
The best?
No, saying.
No, that was part of the theory. You see
I know, I get that that's part of the theory, but if it's completely supposed to assimilate an organism,
yeah, right.
It's supposed to be like he wasn't really breathing, because the thing, we don't know how it breathes. It could be breathing through just osmosis. So
no, but in the autopsy scene, he says there's half developed organs or something.
Yeah, so but just because they're developed, just because it has organs doesn't mean it utilizes them.
It might just be a disguise.
If you're assimilating something, you would want. No, but if you're assimilating,
the theory doesn't count anyway because you do see his breath.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but you would want to appear as natural as possible. So of course it would utilize them.
That's why the best theory
saying that that's like saying none of the dogs that are the thing's tails wag. Of course it would want to wag its tail if it's a dog.
That's why the best theory supporting the fact that Childs is the thing is that he leaves right before the generator goes out.
Mm-hmm.
He disappears for a long period of time, and the clothes he's wearing at the end were not the clothes he was wearing right before he disappeared.
Yes, which means they shred their.
How would the thing change his clothes?
Well, because it always changed the clothes, McKenna. They say early in the beginning of the film that it rips through your clothes when it assimilates you, because it's a very harsh process. And then that's why some of the people had they found bloody, ripped up clothes all around the place. So that's why he would have needed a change of clothes. You see the jacket that he wears at the end, it's hanging on the wall.
I also like the theory that the drink that the drink that McCready gives to Childs is actually gasoline. Yeah, where
and it gives a reason.
It's actually what?
That the drink that McCready gives Childs at the end of the film is gasoline. So it's interesting because there's
makes so much sense.
There's branches to this theory now. So
which is why he smiles after he takes a drink, and also because if Childs was human, he would be worried that the bottle could infect him, but he doesn't.
Exactly.
He takes a drink anyway.
Well, let Mike.
As soon as Childs takes a sip, McCready laughs. And people are wondering, okay, so if McCready is the thing, he's laughing because he just infected Childs. Or if Childs is the thing and there really is gasoline in that bottle and he just saw Childs drink that and the thing doesn't know what, alcohol really tastes like. And McCready laughs because he finally figured it out.
He's going to beat him.
Or third theory, he's laughing because he just watched a grown man not just drink gasoline and not realize it.
Well, there is a third theory that they're both infected and just don't know it.
Both not infected.
No, one of them.
No, John Carpenter himself confirmed one of them was infected.
Yeah,
the thing with what John Carpenter says though.
Well, did he write and direct the film, or did he just direct it?
I think he did both, but here's the thing. The thing with
even
John
if he
Carpenter,
didn't write it, the overall story and idea and bringing that film about was all his doing.
Wait, can I pitch something here?
Wait, Mike's been trying to finish this sentence for like 3
years.
He wasn't definitive about it, so we can make as many theories as we want.
Go, Mike.
The weird thing with John Carpenter, I noticed this whenever I look up stuff about the thing. He's actually never consistent with the ending of the movie. He did say that one of them is the thing, and then denied that. And then one time he even said the video game is canon, but then he said the comics are canon, which makes no sense. I think John Carpenter is just trying to mess with everybody.
That's like the single most beautiful thing ever. If that's all on purpose, like he's just trying to literally confuse everyone to never give them a straight answer.
Honestly, I think that's what it is. That's the whole point of why he does that.
Okay, so
no, I know, but you could just say the movie ended the way it ended for 30 years, but that's not what he did. If he's saying yes this, but then no that, but then yes this, but then yes to both of these things that can't coincide, that's a far more hilarious version of the same thing.
Scott, Tim, what were you gonna say? Oh, sorry, Tim wanted to say something.
So there was a little plot point that confused me, but I think I kind of figured it out. I think Childs is definitely infected because the ending takes place right after the blood test scene. After the blood test scene, he's like, "Okay, Childs, you stay here." He gets Gary and Knowles to go with him to finish it off. So Childs is back in the base, but during the blood test scene, when Palmer's blood spews up, you see blood splatter on the floor and start moving. They burn Palmer after he devours Windows, and they burn Windows too. But they never burn the blood that was on the floor that starts moving around.
That's very true.
So that blood could have gotten to Childs while Childs was keeping watch inside the base. And then so that infects Childs, his clothes get ripped off, he gets new clothes or something, I don't know how it works.
That's very interesting, I never heard that.
Yeah. I just noticed that the last time I saw it. Oh my gosh, that blood was never dealt with. That fake. Oh my goodness.
So I've got, I would say perhaps, but I don't think so, because normally it's when a larger organism attacks a person and assimilates them. That's when it's messy. Slow infection. I'm of the opinion that the only slow infection we see in the entire movie.
It's the computer guy.
Is Blair.
Yeah, Blair.
Because what happens is he's got his hands literally just all over the specimen. And
during the
and
autopsy.
even whatculture.com picked up on this sort of because they talk about how he was touching it with like that penciler thing, and then he touches it to his lips.
It's like, uh-oh.
And they
Corona
were saying
time.
that was it, but I'm like, nah, he had his hands in his arms, and it was all like he has it all over his
He
arm.
has blood all up his arms.
So I was like,
He was
nah,
very
it's
handsy.
probably before that. But that's why I think.
That's why you think that the blood he was testing was his own.
That's why I think he went crazy, because I think he realized he was slowly being infected, and that's why he just like
Mike this exact question.
tearing up the computers, and that's why he builds the news, like makes the news, because he just wants to end it before he gets completely taken over. But then, just as he's about to hang himself, it takes over and he doesn't hang himself, because there's no reason. Like, why on earth would the alien make a noose? Like, there's just no reason. And why is the noose there in the first place?
That was my first question after watching it with Mike. It's like, when does he get assimilated?
He's very manic. And then
but that's also why, didn't you say that the blood he's testing on the computer in the beginning is probably his own?
Which is why he's like, let me out. No, I'm totally
Oh,
fine
that's actually a good idea, Brian, because maybe he didn't test the dog.
Well, yeah, that was Chucky's idea, because when
He's
it still
watching his
says
own
being
assimilation.
assimilation this percent, assimilation that percent, he goes crazy after that because Chucky said he was probably testing his own blood and watching it get assimilated in real time.
Oh yeah, I did say that.
You did say that.
That was a much better theory than even I originally remember.
Exactly. So that's actually the biggest sticking point to Chuck's theory. Oh, why can't any of this just be confirmed, John Carpenter?
There's a second character who does get slowly taken over. He's like really minor, but his name is Norris. Like he shows up, has like a few lines, but throughout the movie, like he gets like a stomach ache, so it's like coughing and hacking and stuff.
Well, he was known for having a weak heart, which is a sticking point for some people. They're like, so the thing not only assimilated him, but when it assimilated him, it also decided to replicate his weak heart.
No, but then he has a heart attack, and when they're doing the autopsy, like on the heart attack, that's when like he goes into the stomach.
Well, they try to revive him.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So wait a second. So also the fact that it replicated a weak heart also discounts Chucky's theory of not using lungs. If it has lungs, it breathes.
I wasn't saying that. That wasn't my theory. I was saying that's what some people tried to say in order to further the idea that Childs was the thing at the end because of the lack of condensated breath that you saw coming from him.
But that's not what I thought was going on.
I didn't say it. Other people said it.
I didn't say that's what happened. I think that what was happening to Norris was that he was like getting slowly infected, and that was messing with his internal organs, and he was getting sick from it. And then that's how he like died. And then when they autopsied him, boom, arms off, whatever.
Yeah, which is a really cool effect because they got an amputee, put a rubber mask on him, and then had the thing chomp off Jello arms with blood in like blood veins in the Jello arms. So it's a really well done effect. So they just said like, okay, we're gonna have this thing chomp off your fake Jello arms that are glued to your to your double amputee actual stubs, and then you're just gonna like wear this rubber mask, have it bite them off, like, and once they're bitten off, you're just gonna wave your arms up in the air and yell like a madman, like ah!
Kenna, you're muted.
I know.
Were you trying to say something too a few minutes ago?
Me? I don't think. I was saying the fact that when Childs gets locked up after he, what's it called? After he
assimilates?
is like fully affected.
Yeah, assimilates.
He's like, no, guys, I'm totally fine now. You can let me out. It's totally cool.
Yeah. And I think
like I'm over my manic behavior.
Overall, just to sum it up, basically, like, there's a lot of cool theories, and I don't think any of them should be confirmed, honestly. I think the theory making is what makes this film a lot, you know? It's a lot of...
Makes it live on.
It's
no, but remember, the comics and the video game are canon.
Two contrasting individual things are canon. Makes perfect sense.
One of them is the thing, but actually none of them are the thing, or they're both the thing.
No one was the thing. It was a hallucination.
No, imagine neither of them were the thing. That would be the most interesting ending of all.
That would be interesting.
The thing
it is possible.
John Carpenter explains the ending of this film just like he explains the genre of Big Trouble in Little China. That's pretty much how he does it.
No, but it is
So he
possible because
doesn't.
Childs might not have been lying. Like maybe he
Yeah.
did see Blair run out in the snow and then go out to chase him, but just got lost or whatever.
Very possible. Anyway, you mix it. Great film. Go watch it. If
you're old enough
if you're
to
old-
not have nightmares.
Yeah, let's just say it's a little on the spookier side. But
Oh man, I want to watch it again now so bad.
what a better way to.
But I also don't because I'm gonna be running away from my dog for like a week.
No, bro.
Look,
Just watch it with your dog.
What a better.
Yeah, McKenna was like, I can't trust him anymore.
What a better way to celebrate your
Looking
spooky season.
Every time he looks at you, you're just like, I know what you're plotting. Do it already. Just kill me.
Actually,
like,
if
I
you
don't
watch...
trust anybody at any time, so I'm not disappointed when someone's like the murderer.
If you
This
watch,
is why, again, you kill that
Wait.
guy in the first 5 seconds. Don't even wait for him to ask.
Wait, let Mike talk. Mike, what do you say?
if you watch Chris Stuckman's review on the film, he actually has a little funny skit with his dog in the very beginning of the video.
That's funny.
Yeah, it is.
Anyways, with the popularity of Among Us and the greatness that this film still resides, it's the perfect watch for the spooky season. We'll have.
I mean, I know Among Us is always compared to The Thing, but again, Among Us is more like that other movie I mentioned.
Yeah,
I would,
or
and
Alien.
once again,
Yes.
I would also say another reason I like this is because at the very least, it's not like a scary movie that's like as I was saying before, just rests on cheap jump scares and like so many stupid movies that like are just the threat is demonically based for no good reason, just to make things scary. Like there were.
You mean like every recent Scooby-Doo movie that couldn't craft a good mystery?
or like, for example, this like, there was this recent horror film like about this app that tells you when you're gonna die, and it's somewhere in the legal, like the app was coded in Latin, and you signed the contract that, if you tried to do anything to avoid your death when the app said you were gonna die, the literal like death demon was gonna come and kill you, and it's a very stupid movie. Like, this movie is much more well-crafted, justified in its scares and in its, it sets the rules for its world very well, and it comes off as a lot more believable, and it's more easy to get invested in, and that's one of the reasons why, the scares hit so much differently in this film.
I really want to know if plant life can be assimilated or not. Like, is that fact of the comics true or not? Because that has massive implications. Do you know how much? Well, I tend to believe that it can assimilate plant life because you figure if the one in the 50s literally is a plant-based alien, then it does make perfect sense it could assimilate plants if he based all his inspiration for the movie off the 50s one, which he loved so much.
Either way.
Potentially, but the 50s one came up with the idea of like it being a plant, like to try and explain it in a 50s way, I think.
Yeah, but that was actually one of the better like 50s twists in my opinion.
All right, guys, let's wrap this up.
Yeah.
But this is the thing. This is a never.
The discussion never ends.
Exactly. The conversation, the theories will always continue.
Cut out the part that I was talking about the demonic films and
It's fine. We'll leave it in.
And
all right.
Demonic cell phone app.
Okay, quick, 20-second final thoughts. Sky, go.
Actually, just in general, I think we could just wrap everything up just by saying, like, it's an enjoyable movie, lots of theories, lots of fun, and, watch it at night and get super spooked. What can I say? Overall, just, like, grab some buddies, grab some popcorn, and, have some fun with it. We're gonna have some episodes coming up for the rest of spooky season. Ooh. Kill me. But for now, I think
assimilate you.
Really, yeah. really quick before we head out, I just want to shout out to my cousin Anthony, who was the one that showed me this movie. It was both his and my first time watching it 2 years ago. So, Anthony, thank you for inviting me over to watch that film and to and where it led to now, where we're talking about it. So, thank you. If you're watching.
One word summary: paranoia. Like that's just the word that sums it all up. Paranoia. The incredible, overwhelming sense of paranoia.
Any other final thoughts? Free Adams?
I have one more thought. Yeah, well, Shrek you too.
And with that, I'm Sky, and we'll see you all next time.
Later.